Tonight, late night message is my encounter with an 81-year-old and his advice to me as a parent. So this morning, I had a moment with God. At first, I was having alone time with Him, reading when I suddenly felt led to pray about me being a horrible parent and how I felt like I had already failed my babies as a mother. I was so upset that I just asked God to help me do the things right. I asked if he would correct my errors, erase the things that I have done wrong with these past 3 years that I've had with my children, and to fix me and my ways, my influence, my impact that I've had negatively on my children. I just needed to cry out to God to let out the frustration of failure that I was feeling that week. And I ended my session to prepare for the day laid out before me. That was like around 7 a.m. From 7:15 to 9 a.m., I managed to wake up the toddlers, nurse one of them while the other two dressed themselves, finished nursing to dress the baby, cooked a fresh breakfast, and while they ate, I prepared lunch to go for our library day that we had ahead of us, which was a 30-minute walk to the library. I did their hair, brushed their teeth, organized and packed up the wagon, cleaned the kitchen, and last minute did potty breaks before walking out the door, all on an empty stomach. Now, I have never purposely and spiritually fasted before, so I was trying to have a week pre trial to see if I would succeed before taking on the real thing. Anyways, making that walk though this morning with nothing in my stomach but water and scripture in my head, I I managed to get through. I was okay. I managed to get through. Like I went to the park. I had my time at the park before the library, and then I went to the library and for the toddler time, of course, it was good. I was okay, right? Well, after walking to the library and having a good toddler session, I was ready to walk home, expecting to be on time for a nap until 15 minutes into my walk when one of the toddlers wanted their water bottle. I kid you not, when I discovered that he had left the bottle at the library, I had a silent moment of releasing emotions before deciding to walk back to the library. Yes, I know I could have just bought a new bottle, but that was not the point. I did not want to tell the kids that everything could just easily be replaced. I told them on the walk back to the library that we needed to be responsible for our items and needed to go back to get what we left behind because it was bought with hardworking money and that we were not going to replace it. Then I asked them to speak amongst themselves because, to be honest, I needed time to myself and God so that I could remain calm. Again, I was hungry by this point, and my goal was to get to the noon to eat while they napped. And at this time, it was about 1:30. So I was inwardly agitated with the youngest tired and napping and the older two arguing about the heat. So it was just a lot going on. By the time I got to the library, the staff knew that there had been something wrong for me to return. So after I told them about the water bottle, they all helped me look for it, which took a while because I mean, my kids, there's like a whole section where they can have their time by themselves. And my kids love that section. And they were there and then at the little train area and pickup part. So we all looked and we could not find this bottle. And I kid you not, when I returned to the wagon thinking that, okay, you know what? The water bottle's gone. I kid you not, I saw the water bottle right in front of my face in the wagon. And let me remind you, I looked everywhere in that wagon, moved things around because I really, after 15 minutes of walking and like ready to eat, I really did not want to walk back, knowing I had to walk back home 30 minutes. So that was just too much. And for me to see that right in front of my face, I was just beside myself. I couldn't believe it, but I told myself and the ladies that everything happens for a reason. And I can only believe that. At the end of my moment of stating what I've said, one of the ladies who was assisting someone else came up to me and started explaining how she was hoping that I will be at the library talking to my friends when she returned back from her lunch break with her daddy, who was visiting. And when she got there and she realized that I wasn't there, she was really upset because she really wanted us to meet. So now that I was back at the library, she was asking, like, hey, can you come and meet my father? He's here in town, and I just really want you to meet him. And so I was like, you know what? Like I said, everything happens for a reason. I'm here. So I met her daddy. This 81-year-old man that I approached had a huge, beautiful smile and was ready to meet. He spoke to me about admiring me with the children during toddler story time and being fascinated by how well behaved the boys were. And then he went on to say he had four boys and one girl, and that seeing me in my position flooded his memories because his children were also back to back. And I want to add that God told my husband and I that we would have five kids, and I always told that it would be four boys and one girl. So him telling me that was just kind of like confirmation and very amazing to hear. But upon hearing this and his story about his whole life, everything, well, not like his whole life, but hearing like a good chunk of his life was so precious and interesting that I asked him if he had any tips that he could share with me raising my children. And so he did. So the first thing he told me, the first thing he told me was, God will always provide. The first thing he advised was that God will always provide. And I kid you not, that is actually something that I really needed to hear at that time. Um, and Just him. He said never to worry about food, shelter, or any other necessities you and your family need because God will always provide for you and your family. He mentioned times when he did not know how money would show up, even with him working three jobs, but everything was taken care of. He did not even have the fancy house or everything that our generation thinks that we need today. He just had everything that they needed, and everything worked out. Every one of his kids turned out perfectly with healthy lifestyles that they still today can comfortably maintain. The second thing he told me was back up your husband. Y'all are a team. He said never put your children above your husband and never have parenting moments where you undermine him in front of your children. The children will lose respect for him and you as well. You and your husband come first, and you should be a team in the home as husband and wife, and as parents backing each other up. If there's something that you disagree with, then privately discuss it with your husband to settle the matter. When you're a team that has each other backs, the kids will know that they have good parents who are aligned in really one force, like a team. And when they see a team, they know that they cannot go behind each other's backs or your backs with your husband to get what they want. And they also learn to honor and respect what was said between the both of y'all or just one alone. The third is to listen to your husband about his day. You may not be able to join in your husband's world when he's at work, but when he comes in, he has to adjust back into y'all's world together, which can be difficult sometimes. You will never understand his field of work, the weight of the stress, and the awareness he has to protect others. He may not want to tell you everything about his job, but when he does decide to speak, listen. As he helps you with the kids, try to love him as much as he allows you to and listen to what he says. You may not need to respond either. Sometimes he wants to just share his day and air it out to release it all off of his chest and just wants you to listen and not speak. And you must learn to be okay with that. And when it is your turn to have your moment, you can. 4. Don't change your kids. They are who they are. I'm not saying that you cannot raise them up in God and lead them in the right direction. But if your child's interest is in something that you did not plan, nor do you share that same interest with them, then that's okay. Join their world and encourage their interest by participating in it with them. And I'm speaking on healthy interests that are pure and not bad. Honestly, for me, it has been a struggle since my oldest was barely 1 years old, already having a passion for football. Like, I've always told my husband, who was an athlete since his toddler days, that I did not want my boys to play football. Unfortunately, though, my oldest, who is now 3, and his brothers apparently did not get the memo. So, because they didn't get the memo, they love football. And for me, I just can't, because of all the things you hear about the trauma, like the head trauma, CTE scans, stuff like that. Like what it does to you, your moods, and I really, really did not want them to play football. And it didn't help that in high school I saw a football player die on the field during the Friday night football game. So yeah, I just had no interest in my boys playing at all. And don't get me wrong, like I allowed them to play outside, like throwing the ball with each other or in the house with each other. But like a real sport, no. But again, unfortunately, that's not the case of what happened. I still hope that they change their sport interests sometimes, but I doubt they will since my husband still has his football pictures and trophies and all that stuff up, which inspires their little eyes. But I still have to learn to still enjoy what they enjoy. Because, I mean, like, that's what we're supposed to do, you know? Like, we're supposed to enjoy. They're not going to be exactly like us. Like, and that would kind of be boring, you know? Them playing football kind of brought me out of my element of how I used to play with my friends and cousins and stuff. But again, don't change your kids. They are who they are. They're unique. And if you change them now, then they start to fall in the lines of who you want them to be rather than who God calls them to be. And that is not a good setup for them in their future. Now, I could ramble on about that, but let me get to number 5. Always tell your children you love them. This is not a rule, but a suggestion. Now, these are my words that will follow, but this is just because I agree with him on telling your kids that you love them. How do you feel when you are reassured that you're loved by your husband, no matter what? You feel good, right? Where your children are corrected throughout the day and face consequences for their actions, which might make you feel like the bad person all day, but reassuring, even in challenging moments, that you love them is a needed, like, action. It's a needed action on your part to your children for them mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. My dad used to say that he loved me all the time, but after he got sick, when I was around like 6 or 7 years old, he never went a day without telling me that he loved me. He would randomly say, "You know, I love you, right? I will always love you, no matter what happens." I promise you, he never stopped. Even in college, he would call me every day to tell me morning, noon, and night time until his last day of life. And I remember almost every moment of him saying that he loved me. Make this an intentional habit with your kids and create these moments for both you and them to reconnect throughout your day and to build a good and healthy, strong relationship that, God forbid, something happens to the both of you, that they will know that they were loved no matter what. Number 6, be fair with each child. He said, let your yes be yes and your no be no to everyone. Always be fair with your children. The rules enforced in the home need to apply to everyone and should be respected by everyone. Which goes on to number 7, never show favoritism. When you show favoritism towards your children, it will mentally affect the children who are not the favorites and create bitterness and resentment towards your golden child. Can you imagine? Number 8, when he, this is actually a funny, in the moment it was really funny of how he was telling his story of the ways he would punish his children because he had to be fair and just. And so after many times of his children getting in trouble, he would say, what do you think you deserve as a punishment? His son will respond, you should give me another chance. But he would respond to his son, well, you had many chances, and now I have to spank you because if I do not, after I told you the last time that you will be spanked, then you'll make me a liar on my word. And I am not a liar. When I tell you that I was surprised to hear that, like I was shocked and it brought me chills. To be honest, for me, it was not the spanking part, which I know some parents view as an aged out parenting style. Still, it was the part of him telling his child repeatedly to listen and follow through on his word of action so that his children would not see him as a liar. Still, he is a man of his word. Honestly, at some point in the past few months, I have been the opposite of him with my oldest. Trying the gentle parenting methods that only resulted in me having more breathing exercises than I wanted from trying to control my emotions. Yeah, so I decided to try this method and see what would happen. I will update you on the discipline advice when I see results. And don't worry, I will not run to whooping my children, but following through on what I say when they break the rules will be interesting to see on both ends because I am the parent that, like the boy who cried wolf, I'll say it over and over because I just like, I'm like, okay, like maybe they'll get it right, or, oh, like, I just don't want to have to do this. I don't want to have to, because you hear all these things about what putting them in timeout does to them mentally, or all these things and how it affects them in the future. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, what is the right way? But again, I will let you know how this journey goes because I do need to be on my cues with the yes. Yes, be yes. Let my yes be yes. Number 9, be patient. Outside of having God as everything you can ever need in parenting, patience is the number one thing you need in your season of raising toddlers. They will mess up things, have tantrums, make you upset, and make you feel like they are intentionally disrespecting you. But through all of that, you need to master the art of patience and find that method that helps you stay in place where you do not match your toddler's outcrying moment or any moment of matter, but that you can truly resolve the situation most appropriately because your methods allow you to have peace and find a solution through you first gaining patience. Reacting to a toddler's reaction does not improve things. It shows your toddler how to react when faced with uncomfortable moments. They need to see healthy methods and responses so that they can learn and grow to imitate healthy, beneficial behaviors. So, mama, if you want to find a solution to your toddler's meltdowns and problems to really solve the issue for both parties, learn the art of patience. God has given it to you through His Spirit. Number 10, give your children tools and teach them handiwork. When you teach your children at a young age the basics of tools, their names, and usage, then you will enhance their knowledge through projects on how they can create and build things, which will allow them to assist someone who needs help or allow them to take care of fundamental issues in the home or with their car if ever needed. This also allows your children to make repairs with satisfaction and save money in their pockets by not spending an arm and a leg on someone else's work. Number 11, be aware of your actions and how you carry yourself. They will imitate you. Your children see everything you do and will imitate it. So be careful what you say and do. So in other words, be the best self you wish you could be or pray your kids will become from watching you. Do not fake it till you make it, but ask God to prune you to be the daughter He has called you to be, especially in your season of motherhood, which never goes away. 12. Community. Let your children learn how to listen to and respect other leaders in charge. Adults can be the everyday people that are familiar with them, such as the librarian for toddler time, a doctor, teacher, the dentist, babysitter, family, and other adults that they usually come across. Teach your children how to respect you when you're talking to someone else by learning to wait their turn without interruptions, unless, of course, it's an emergency. And most importantly, they should be taught how to act in public. What do you expect from them? I know that this could be in today's time. I personally know that this is something that everybody says that a lot of children need, but we are our brother's keepers. We are a village raising each other. And I personally feel like, respectfully, that if you have a chance to inspire a child or teach them about having respect for others, then that could be a seed planted, like pouring out to a kid, that respect is much needed as well deserved back, like earned, like even if you don't feel like you receive enough respect or the respect that you want to receive, you still have to give respect. And it doesn't make you less than, it just makes you a child of God, honoring God and honoring other people He has put you around and the things that He has put you around or given you. And children need to learn to respect and listen to other adults and their peers and just really learn basic communication. And like I said, mine are toddlers, but this is for anybody and everybody, even adults too. We need to master the art of respect as well. Number 13, teach your children that they only have each other and that they need to love and take care of each other, especially after you're gone. This advice is something I'm familiar with because my daddy told my sisters and I this until the day he left this earth. This phrase may encourage us to be the way we are, which is very close. But honestly, he was right too. My mother only had my daddy and really did not see the point in having friends because they did everything together. My mother also did not have family since my parents' love was an interracial forbidden love that cost her everything, like everything she knew, everything that was inherited to her, like everything was stripped away from her at the age of 13 because of her love that she had with my daddy. And because of that, on both sides going through things, I grew up more on my with my daddy side, but even hearing on both sides, like well, not really my mother's, but on his side, hearing like a lot of drama and seeing things growing up that was just unnecessary and uncalled for and not loving at all. My daddy always said that in our home, we are all we have. This is all we have. And I guess because we saw that, it made it easier for us to believe, like, yeah, this is all we have. And he said that my sisters and I, just as much as we know that we need each other and we only have each other, that when he leaves this earth, my mother will need us the most. And he told us to always take care of her when that time comes. In a way, I know that I know maybe got a little like, ooh, um, sensitive topic, but I know that this really did, like I said, this really brought my sisters and I very close, and like we're best friends. Um, but I kid you not, when my daddy passed away, my mother, she's like, that's all she's known, and really all she had. She even knew my sisters and I were best friends. And when he, when he passed away, like literally, we lost a lot because he did everything for her. He ran everything, and so um, and because she was just so taking care of her, she thought that she was gonna be with him to the end. They were gonna go together, like like every woman's hope when they're with their husband for so long. Um, she thought they were gonna go together, and that was not the case. And so she was left behind, really depressed. It was really bad, but my sisters and I thankfully are so close, and we honored what my daddy said, and we really picked up the pieces. I wouldn't say we picked up the pieces, God did, but we were used vessels, and honestly, like let's just say that it is almost nine. No, it is 9 years this year, and she has come a long way. She has grown up a lot, and honestly, like I'm happy that my sisters and I could actually be here to support her through this journey and to see her overcome. That I just know my daddy would just be like so proud of her. So I know that even with toddlers, I tell my toddlers all the time. I tell them, I know, three, two, one. I tell them, if they argue or something, I say, look, God made y'all for each other, and y'all, if something happens to mommy and daddy, y'all are all y'all have. And I know some people may think that's excessive, but it worked for my sisters and I, and so that is something I share with my kids, and that's something my sisters share with their kids. And so I encourage um, y'all parents to really share that with your children. Tell them that if something happens to you or vice versa, your husband, that they will have a huge role in the spouse that's left behind life, and that they are going to be needed for support. But again, they need to know that they need to stick together and make sure that they will take care of your husband when you are gone, because he will need it more than they think, or vice versa. I know that's something that we don't really want to talk about, but it's just important to raise our kids knowing or having intentional relationships with one another and really grown up close and forgiving one another and knowing that their relationship matters and will be needed to support you and your husband in those times of need. Number 14, relax. Do not be hard on yourself. this was this one this one was a good one. He said, "Do not try to be overbearing. Live in the moment day by day or you will stress yourself out." Did you know that children need time to be bored? When children are bored, they become creative and independent in finding solutions. This takes the pressure off always having something planned every hour of the day and helps your children learn not to feel that they need to rely on you for everything that they're capable of doing themselves. Although I am a mama who is always willing for independent time, I cherish every moment that they need me because to me, I think about like, oh, there's gonna be that one day where they just stop needing me. And so I try to take like every day, like, I mean, don't get me wrong. I have those moments where I'm like, oh, okay, guys, I'm one person. But I just really try to take those moments as like they need me, you know? I'm not gonna be able to do this. There's gonna be another woman, like their wife is gonna replace me at some point and do everything for them, you know? And so I I'm okay with, doing stuff, but honestly it's true. Like, I mean, they do need time to themselves. They do need to see that they're capable of doing things on their own. He also added that parents today look overly exhausted in survival mode, barely surviving when they should be enjoying this time raising kids, which is also true. From every mother I have encountered through mommy groups, I can testify to his statement from what I've seen and heard from others. Heck, even myself. I find myself stressed out with my detailed schedule that may have worked when all of them were like in their baby stages and I guess the beginning of the toddler phase. But now that everyone is grown up into themselves with their own emotions, ooh, mamas. You cannot schedule tantrums, scrapes, and growth spurts with the symptoms and illnesses that come with it. Ugh. Because of that, I fell into survival mode from time to time, more during like my ovulation and menstruation seasons. And so I knew that I needed to change for sure. I needed to stop looking at the clocks, stop using the timers, and relax. I still make sure that I stay in the 30-minute increments with the main schedule, but I learned to let them enjoy their day without stress and have more time for independent play to figure out their interests and joys, which showed me what relaxing can do for the whole family. So, so I know I've said a lot, but guys, I cannot explain this counter. Like, it was an encounter that only God could orchestrate. I mean, the timing of everything was perfect. After crying out to God early this morning and wishing my daddy was still alive, to meeting him hours later, quoting the exact words that my daddy used to say to my sisters and I growing up, let it alone. Like, this man had the same hobbies of my daddy and almost had the same working situation with kids. Like, that struck me to where I could not stop crying. And he was so sweet when I was crying too. It's like God really wanted me to receive those words and compliments from this man who reminded me of my daddy. And may I add that my daddy also had 5 kids. He had one boy and 4 girls. So, I mean, to me, that's still crazy. After this encounter, I just knew I had to share this moment with someone because I needed to hear it, but I know somebody else needed to hear this too. That man told me not to remember him until I was 81 years old, but before that day, or before the day is done and I honor his wishes, I just thought to share this message before it left me because I cannot stop thinking about how good God is for making this happen for not just me, but for him too. And whoever this message reaches to, for y'all. Like, guys, it was just, uh, I know I sound like very up right now. I'm trying to stay quiet because the kids are asleep, but this was an experience that God really, like sometimes, I'm sorry. Sometimes, have you ever had a moment where like you're with God and you're just like, you pray, but you know sometimes some prayers take time? Well, this one was not on delay. Like this one was not delayed or like I'm gonna give her some time. Like no, he rerouted me today. He rerouted my steps. He directed my steps to have this encounter. And even when I thought I was failing as a parent, he like he really has somebody watching me the whole time and was ready to tell me all the good things that I needed to hear. And like I said, like everything that I was crying early that morning, like missing my daddy, just feeling like a failure and hoping that like I don't mess up my kids, you know? And I know that people will be like, girl, you're doing too much. But I don't know. It's just you hear so many new things these days. And I'm telling you, like the internet can make you or break you. Like I had to learn like not every article is meant to be read. Like I don't need to know if I'm an elephant parent or an ostrich mother or a type A, type B parent. Like I don't need to know that because it can really do something to your mind. But just having somebody speak life to me and just give me these things that I actually like knew I needed to work on or things that like the advice that I just was praying for in the first place, like it was perfect. It was perfect. And so I just thank God for this moment. And I just hope this blesses whoever this is meant for. And I am going to go to sleep now. So God bless you. Good night. Shalom.
Let's build God's kingdom together.